What's going on, Packers fans and Pack-A-Day podcast YouTube members? Welcome into our members-only Q&A. Thanks so much for being here. I did double and triple check to make sure that we've got this set up as an actual members Q&A today, so I don't think I screwed that one up this time. My apologies for last week, but if you are here and you are not a member, that means it has gone live after the fact, so make sure to check out those memberships so you can get involved directly in the conversation to get all your great questions in. Looking forward to chatting with you guys today. This is going to be a fun one. Huge Packers win over the Lions, and I want to get to all of your questions, so we'll get into it right away. No news on anything yet today, nor should there be. There's no media availability, practice, anything like that that's going to be open. So, we'll find out maybe a little bit more tomorrow, but we should not get any news today unless there's anything on the transaction report, which should come out actually right about now. So, Packers announced roster moves. Look at that on cue. All right, so what do we got here? Packers sign Pierre Strong Jr. to the practice squad and release Israel Abanikanda. So Abanikanda is gone, and they have a new running back on the practice squad, Pierre Strong Jr. So there we go. Breaking huge news, a running back change on the practice squad for Green Bay. Looks like that's about all the news that we're going to get today. I wouldn't expect anything else really coming out, but if there is anything, of course, we'll cover it right here on the Pack-A-Day podcast. But with that, let's get to all of your incredible questions and jump in right away. Brian, thanks as always for doing these chats. I was really impressed with Bullard's contribution on run defense. Do you think he'll stay on the field as much on early downs when Hobbs gets back? I do. We'll have to kind of wait and see how they kind of go about doing this, but I still think on early downs, especially early in the game when there's a lot more run options, that Bullard will be on the field at safety along with Xavier McKinney, which is what we saw in this game. And then I think there is still going to be that nickel package where Bullard is in the slot more on early downs, with Hobbs and Nixon on the outside. And then in obvious passing downs, Bullard would be off the field with Hobbs in the slot, Valentine and Nixon on the outside, with Williams and McKinney at safety at that point. Don't know for sure. There's a world in which it's just going to be, Hobbs and Nixon as maybe the primary corners. And then every nickel formation will be with Hobbs in the slot and Valentine and Nixon on the outside. That's a possibility as well. But based on what we see, I would expect there to be kind of two different nickels, one with Bullard in the slot, one with Hobbs in the slot. And I think we could see a little bit less Valentine and a little bit more, obviously Hobbs, but still Bullard in the slot in some of those situations. Do you believe that Kinnard has the potential to be our starting right guard in 2026? I do. He's going to be a really interesting one, though, because he is going to be a restricted free agent. So if they want him back, they'll either need to work out an extension with him, or they're going to have to work out, or I guess bring him back on a restricted free agent deal, which is a little bit more. So they will have to, kind of see how they want to go about doing that. But I think if he shows well and Green Bay likes him on that line, that he could be in the competition for a starting spot, or at least like in the conversation, right? They probably go out and get a couple different guys that can be competing for spots. But I think if he's back next year, there is a strong chance that he could be competing for a spot on the starting offensive line. Don't think I've ever seen a Packers team come out with that kind of fire under them. Something is brewing up in Lambeau Field, and I love it. Also, this linebacker duo could be special this year. I agree with you on both things, Landon. I thought the energy was insanely intense, and you could really you could feel it. You could just feel it pulsing through the stadium. And it wasn't like a lot of times when you have that happen, the crowd is the one that's like getting everything fired up, and then the players feed off the crowd. This one was the players just fired up. Like they were on one. They were pumped up. They were ready to play. It was really fun to watch. And then the crowd responded to them out on the field. That was a really cool scene, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But the offense was fired up too. Jordan Love was freaking out after the touchdown play. That was a fun start to a game, as fun and as energetic of a start to a game as I can remember, even just watching the Packers, much less covering the Packers. And as far as the linebacker duo, I'm right there with you too. Edgerrin was easy to see in this one. I think everyone saw the impact that Edge Cooper made all throughout the game, but Quay was right there too. And it shouldn't go unnoticed. He's got that C on his chest. He's a team captain. He's got the green dot on back of his helmet. He's the one calling the plays. He's getting everything organized. He is talking through everything. He's communicating with everyone. He played not only a big role on the field, meaning, when the play was going on and all of his contributions on run defense and pass defense, etc., but everything that he was doing outside of that was massively important as well. So I thought that was a marquee performance from Quay Walker. If that's Quay, right? If that's just the new Quay, Captain Quay, Green Dot Quay, which of course he's been for a while now, and playing at that level week in and week out, you pull out the credit card next year. You don't let that guy out of the building. You let him continue to do exactly what he's doing, because right now, and at least in this game, Quay and Coop together looked amazing, and I have no interest in splitting that up. I start getting those contract negotiations fired up pretty quick if that's going to be the new reality of what Quay Walker looks like moving forward. John, no news on the O-line injuries yet. With some practice time, what's our starting five if Banks and Tom can't go? Yeah, I would expect it was pretty much how they finished it. I think you're going to see, if that's the case, Rasheed Walker at left tackle, Jordan Morgan at left guard, and then at center, Elton Jenkins. Right guard would be Sean Ryan, and right tackle would be Darian Kinnard. I think that's what it would be, left to right. And then you get a little bit thin because you're probably looking at Belton as your first guy up after that. And then it's Donovan Jennings after that as your only guy left. And then you're probably going practice squad, which you've got Brant Banks and Dalton Cooper. One of those guys would get called up as player number 8. I would assume it would be Brant Banks, but don't know for sure. But that's what you'd probably be looking at. So the depth would be scary. You would have Belton still, but outside of that, I would expect it to be Walker, Morgan, Jenkins, Ryan, and then Kinnard if both Aaron Banks and Zach Tom were unable to go in this one. Hopefully they can, but we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. We're not going to know other than the injury report, by the way. Maybe we find out something in locker room tomorrow, but I'm sure the coaches are not going to say anything, and Matt LaFleur's not going to say anything. Maybe he does. We'll see. But there is no practice availability this week at all. No individuals, no walkthroughs, no nothing. So we're going to know nothing about who's practicing and who's not other than from the injury report. So that's the only thing we're going to have to go off of. Almost have to spy Daniels this week, right? Do you use Cooper Quay more for that, or do you keep switching to keep them guessing? Yeah, I think they're going to do a variety of different things to kind of keep him in check. I do think Green Bay's defense is well set up for this in a variety of different ways. The first thing is that Green Bay plays a ton of zone defense. You know, you don't play a ton of man, so you're not usually caught as much with your back turned to the quarterback, where if somebody loses their contain, all of a sudden he's running for 60 yards or something like that. They should be well set up to have eyes on the quarterback, which definitely helps. They're also set up when you have Edgerrin Cooper, Quay Walker, Micah Parsons out on the field. You've got LVN at defensive tackle, who's got ridiculous speed in some of those obvious passing situations from a defensive tackle standpoint. You just have really great speed on the field in the front seven, more than other teams do. So that should help quite a bit with that as well. And then again, I'm sure they'll do some, kind of mush rushes where you're getting up the field, but you're just kind of keeping them in the pocket. I'm sure they'll use a quarterback spy from time to time. I'm sure they'll switch up who's spying. You could even use a safety dropping down to be a potential spy. Jeff Hafley will be prepared. I don't have any question about that, but he is somebody that you have to be cognizant of and be aware of at all times, because if you're not, he will beat you with his arm. He'll beat you with his legs, and he's just a very, very talented quarterback. So they're going to have a plan for him, and hopefully that plan is ready and workable, because Jaden Daniels will have the ability to pick you apart with his arm and his legs if that plan is not working the way that you want it to. What's good, Andy? Happy Victory Monday. Rewatched the game this morning, and man, did the tackling stand out. Sure, tackling across the board on a team that lived after the catch last year. Yeah, even a couple of times where there was maybe a missed tackle, there was everyone rallying to the football behind it as well, which was really fun to see. Just a team flowing together is a really good defense. We saw that yesterday, and even there was just no run after the catch possibilities other than that one kind of blown assignment on Laporta. That was about it. Other than that, they did not let anything get going in the open field. And that just makes it really tough on you as an offense to try to grind out 3 and 4 yard plays again and again and again and again. It just doesn't get you anywhere. And it just makes it insanely difficult. And we saw Green Bay very, very sound on defense yesterday. Gibbs' yards per catch was historically low. Exceptional tackling. Yeah, record breaking. In fact, nobody with 10 plus catches has ever had that low of yardage in NFL history. So again, great job by the Packers defense. Kevin, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you a ton. Most hated Chicagoan. Happy Victory Monday, Andy. Feels great to send these Lions back toward where they belong. Looking over the PFF grades, Banks and Bullard were the lowest Packers. Evan Williams is the highest with 90 plus. Yeah, I try not to look at it yet because I want to go through and grade it on my own. We'll see. I'm through about halfway on the offense right now. Still have a ways to go and then have the full defense to do too. But I should say probably more of like a quarter of the way through the offense, but should get through a good chunk of that tonight. I don't think I'm going to get through all of it tonight, but should finish up grades tomorrow and then kind of go from there. But looking forward to dig into it. That's for sure. And we'll see where my grades come out and if they're any different than PFF's. Well, Andy, Gary and Parsons at 2.5 sacks so far for my 30 sack prediction, 8.5%. That's all I'm going to say. 30 sacks. All right, chicken. I'm in. If you're in, let's make this happen. Let's speak it into existence. Looking forward to your grades for the game to compare. Thursday will mark my 30th year as a Packers fan, and hopefully we get off to a 2-0 start and show the NFC who's about to take over. Go Pack, go. Happy 30-year anniversary, most hated Chicagoan. And yeah, I'm excited to see how these grades compare with PFF as well. Daniel Whelan is an absolute weapon. Corey, appreciate you being here. And he's very fun to watch. He's got a absolute nuke for a leg, and it's not just distance, it's hang time as well. And when you have both of those things combined, it really sets up your coverage to succeed. And that's exactly what we saw. Hopefully we don't need to see a ton of Daniel Whelan, but when you do, you want to see him perform like that. And he certainly came through yesterday when needed. I'm not trying to crown them after 1 week, but I think the way they dominated the complimentary football, dominated with complimentary football, is reminiscent of what I've seen from the 96 regular season on YouTube. Yeah, I'm with you on that first part, Karl Marx. I don't want to get too ahead of my skis either on this. Life comes at you fast in the NFL. As soon as you think you're king of the mountain, somebody's right behind you to throw you off. And, Green Bay's going to have to be looking over their shoulder. They have a really tough matchup this week against Washington. That Cleveland team, by the way, played pretty well with Cincinnati yesterday. They have Baltimore this week, and Baltimore is going to be pretty pissed off, I think, playing in that game. I think Baltimore is like a 14-point favorite or something crazy. Cleveland's going to probably go into that week 3 game 0-2 and pretty desperate for a win. And again, they played Cincinnati pretty strong. That defense is legit. That's going to be, I think, a challenge. I still expect Green Bay to win that, but that could be a little bit of a trap game. Then you've got Dallas in Dallas. There's going to be some emotion there. Kenny Clark, Micah Parsons, and you kind of can sometimes look ahead to that bye week. I think we're all pumped up right now. I think we're all excited, but again, this league comes at you really fast. There's not a lot of easy outs on this schedule, and you got to keep bringing your A game week in and week out. And hopefully that's what Green Bay continues to do. But I think we felt the intensity. I think we saw proof of concept. I think we see the upside for this team, but now it's just one day at a time and keeping building and stacking success. Otherwise, you're only as good as your most recent game. And as far like everyone now has been like, yep, Super Bowl team. And if you lose to Washington, it's going to be fire LaFleur. Like that's swings that we live with this thing. Right. So let's take it one game at a time and continue to hopefully progress in the right way. But I'm very optimistic from what I saw in that game, to say the least. How about Wooden? We are too pessimistic in our assessment of 2 to 4 year players. I get it's a what have you done lately league, but we should count on some of them improving. Yeah, I think it's always a difficult thing to just say, yep, they're going to improve. We've seen players take a step back just as much as we've seen them improved. I did a whole episode on that this offseason of especially guys in like second year jumps. I did a whole thing and it was basically almost just as likely to take a step back in year 2 than it was to take a step forward. So just assuming guys are going to have that linear progression and continue to get better, it just doesn't work that way. I think we saw some really great signs though yesterday. And I know Colby's not a second year guy, but you get my point. Colby Wooden, LVN, Devontae Wyatt. I thought those 3 in particular up front looked like the best versions of themselves. I thought Quay looked fantastic. I thought Carrington Valentine looked really good. I thought Evan Williams looked like he took a step in the right direction. I thought Jordan Morgan, when he was in there, looked good. So there were a lot of players that I thought took a sound step in the right direction. I thought Dontavian Wicks looked back to looking like he was before some of his drop issues a year ago. Hopefully that stuff continues. But yes, there's always room for growth. And listen, that's why you are, one of these younger teams that's progressing on the same timeline together, is that hopefully everyone pushes each other and continues to grow at the same rate. And then you get to the point where everyone's kind of in the prime of their career. They've been playing together. They're continuing to accelerate from a growth standpoint. And then you add, Aaron Banks, Micah Parsons, Nate Hobbs to that core, a Matthew Golden as a first round pick. And all of a sudden things start really to, piecing together in a pretty significant way. I think we certainly saw signs of that in that game against Detroit yesterday. Happy Victory Monday, everyone. That was a huge week 1. Go Pack Go. Let's hopefully it can stay into a huge week 2 as well. That's the next piece. Hopefully Tom is okay. Sucks he got hurt, but Kinnard looked pretty good. Seems like a good trade by Goody. Seems like a great trade for Goody. That's, again, one I had the opportunity to go watch the film last week, and I was really impressed. Cannot believe they got him for a future 6th-round pick. At worst, looks like a guy that can be your 6th, 7th, 8th offensive lineman. And to me, again, can be somebody that's at least a replacement level starter for you. I think we saw that in a little bit of the time that he played yesterday. Hopefully he can kind of continue that. But the crazy thing is I think he's going to be best at guard. They played him at tackle, which again, I thought he was good at last year going against the Brian Burns of the world in New York when they played New York last year and he was out there for Philly. But yeah, I thought he acclimated himself very well and had a really good first showing. This is Goody's superpower. You can find guys just out of nowhere. Chris Brooks just chilling and, practice squad guys and moving Bo Melton from wide receiver to corner and finding a, Darian Kinnard for a 6th-round pick, a Malik Willis for a 7th-round pick. Just really, really good at finding those diamonds in the rough, whether it be via draft, trade, free agency, street free agency, whatever it might be. Goody knows how to uncover those gems that can help you win football games. Kinnard looks like he might be another version of that. Man, I think Kinnard is going to prove to be a huge pickup from the offseason. I mean, he certainly paid dividends already yesterday. I mean, probably not quite worth a 6th-round pick just for that one performance, but a lot of interest already paid just on that one performance. He looked good out there and should hopefully only continue to get better as he gets more acclimated with this offense as well. I was worried about the defensive tackles. Wouldn't look good in preseason, but you don't know how that will translate. I saw, like I mentioned the other day, or I guess for today's show, I thought I saw a little Mike Daniels in his game, sincerely. I was really impressed with the work that he put in. Looked good as a run stopper, looked good, getting upfield a little bit as a pass rusher. Devontae Wyatt looked good. Carl Brooks had a solid performance. It was a team effort defensively, no question about it. But Colby Wooden was one of those ones that definitely understood the assignment and stepped up in a pretty significant way. It was so satisfying to watch the D-line dominate, especially after last year's struggles. Rebrovich might have been a double agent. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Just not the double agent part, but that DeMarcus Covington, that's a great first step to his defensive line career in Green Bay. I will say, does help a little bit when you have Micah Parsons out there as well and getting everyone fired up. I'm sure Jason Rebrovich would have enjoyed having Micah Parsons out there as well. But still, I thought a lot of guys took steps in the right direction. We talked about him already, but yeah, good first steps for DeMarcus Covington. No question about it. All my homies hate Brian Branch. Listen, Brian Branch is a good player. Brian Branch is one of those players where if you're playing against him, you hate him. And if he's on your team, you absolutely love him. That's Brian Branch. Every team needs a Brian Branch. Detroit has theirs. And yeah, if he's on your team, you really enjoy him. But yeah, you as a Packers fan, you certainly do not like Brian Branch. Andy, what a game. There was only one scene that scared me when Love slipped during that one scramble. I thought his ACL was done. Yeah, I don't want to speak that into existence, Mirko, but it was just an awkward fall. I didn't think it was anything like that. He was able to pop up right away, but just a very awkward lane. I think there was a little slip too as he was trying to go to the ground and then just kind of fell awkwardly. Thankfully, he was all good and no issues there whatsoever. But yeah, you never want to see a quarterback go down. It looked like, quite frankly, it looked like he got like sniped from somewhere. It was just all of a sudden like, it was just pow, like he was down. I'm like, oh God, what happened? But no, he thankfully was fine. Evan Williams Pro Bowl stock is high. Micah Parsons, new Pro Bowl DB. Yeah, there you go. Now, I thought Evan was fantastic in that game. Obviously, the interception, but he played really sound, really consistently. That's one of those players that when you're looking for, up-and-coming stars or players that could be really, really good on this team and take that step, Evan Williams is a player that we certainly discussed quite a bit. He's really talented. He's really smart. He works his ass off. He's a really, really good football player, and he showed that again against Detroit in week 1. And I'm sure Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, they know Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch on the other side. Those are arguably the two best safety duos in all the NFL. Evan Williams was up to the task. He said, you know what, we've got the better version of it, and he had a really great game yesterday. Direct snap to JJ. So nice, Matt. Yeah, that one didn't work great, but I'll actually say this. I'm going to actually go in the opposite direction if I can nitpick for a moment. I don't like the unnatural quarterback movement. As soon as Jordan starts doing that little like hop, skip, jump thing, it's a tell to everyone the ball's getting directly snapped to Josh Jacobs, and everyone's going to start to crash down inside. you're better off, honestly, just handing it off. Cause at least they're like, I think it's a better deception to say that like Jordan might keep it on a play action fake than that Jordan's just doing this bouncy thing ahead of the play snap of like, nobody's wondering like, what is he doing? Everyone's like, oh, no, just the ball is going to Josh. Okay. Unless you have a wrinkle on top of that, where you do that thing as Jordan and they like snap it to him and then he like QB sneaks or something. Like, unless there's some crazy wrinkle on top of it, I actually think you're worse off by doing something like that, or just like, do the thing where like Manning would do, where like have him take his like chin snap off or the chin strap off and start walking like he's going to signal for a timeout or something, and then snap it to Jacobs. Like do something a little bit more like that to act it out. But whatever that display was, I can do without Jordan doing anything like that probably ever again, if I'm being honest. Great win yesterday. Only thing I'm concerned about is our 3rd and short plays. Hoping we go back to Tucker Kraft, tush push. I will say this isn't necessarily an excuse. But what I will say is that sometimes the run game does take a little bit more time to gel. Those offensive linemen get their feet underneath them a little bit more, get a little bit more cohesive and spend a little bit more time on it. That will come as the season goes along. I'm not super concerned about that at the moment. That is common for the defensive lines to be a little bit ahead of the offensive lines in the run game early on. So I don't have any concern about Jacobs getting going. And I think that'll be something that they can lean on more as time goes on. But it was definitely something that was a little bit out of sync yesterday, to say the least. I thought Elton struggled in pass pro yesterday. What did you see? Nothing. I'm only, again, probably a quarter of the way through of grading. I didn't see anything at first glance, but as I get through my grades, I'll definitely keep you posted with where Elton kind of came out with everything. Why does Nixon get so much hate? I see it all on my Twitter. I think he's a solid player. Listen, I don't know, especially with yesterday's game. There's no performance in yesterday's game that is worth being like, oh my God, what is this guy doing on the team? I get Bullard had maybe a little bit of a rougher day in some of the stuff that he was doing in the slot. It happens, right? He was having to play more in the slot because Nate Hobbs was not healthy. I don't think they wanted to play him as much on obvious passing downs, but when Hobbs is the guy that's supposed to play there and he's out, you have to change things up a little bit. And also, like, they gave him a couple challenging responsibilities on that one play. He was manned up with Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you did that more as a change of pace more than, and to try to maybe confuse and just show like, hey, we're not going to play zone every play. And if you're Javon Bullard, you just have to kind of hang with it. And Bullard made the immediate tackle afterwards, good on Amon-Ra St. Brown, but not every team's going to have an Amon-Ra St. Brown in that situation. And it's not always going to be, man coverage. I thought Javon did some really good stuff in zone defense. And as far as Nixon goes, yeah, you know what, guys? Corners are going to get beat from time to time. It's the NFL. Receivers are really freaking good. Quarterbacks are really freaking good. Pass concepts are really freaking good. Amon-Ra St. Brown went 4 for 45. Jameson Williams went 4 for 23. If we're talking about an outside corner from yesterday's game and saying that they had a bad, I don't know what we're doing here. Like that's as good of a day defensively in the secondary as you can pretty much possibly ask for. And yes, the pressure certainly helped, and some of the scheme stuff certainly helped, but no, I think we're being very nitpicky if we're picking on anybody too much in coverage. Now, maybe I'll change my mind once I watch the L22 and be like, yeah, actually, so-and-so was actually not very good. Maybe we get to that point, but I mean, that was a pretty impressive performance all the way around defensively. Over under on Parsons having 12 sacks this year. I'll take the over, Box Boy. As long as he stays healthy and continues to get healthier, I'll take the over on 12 sacks. Belt to yeah, I totally get it, Holmes. That was a really fun week 1 game, no question about it. Packers look good yesterday. Hope they can keep it up Thursday. And see, they just signed a running back in the practice squad. Yeah, changed out their running back a little bit there. Pierre Strong in, Israel Abanaconda is out. Little disappointment in the run blocking after making moves for bigger bodies, or more on the way Detroit stuff the box. Both. No, let me rephrase it. I think one, again, it takes usually a little bit of time for that stuff to get going and that cohesion up front. Also, Detroit's got the bodies up front to stop the run. DJ Reader and Tyleik Williams is a really good defensive tackle duo against the run. I thought they set the edges pretty well. Thought Anzalone was flying all over the place. So I think that's going to be a pretty good run defense in Detroit. And they were definitely focused on stopping Josh Jacobs. So I think that was a piece of it. And I just think Green Bay's offensive line will get better at run blocking as the course of the season goes along. They usually do. Usually does take a little bit of time to get going. No major concerns yet. Would have liked it to have been better yesterday, but certainly not panicking over it at this point in time. Who's the biggest surprise for you in this game? I'll have to go Colby Wooden still. He just didn't know what to expect. That's a big new responsibility for Colby Wooden, putting a lot on his plate, basically taking Kenny Clark's spot in totality, and he responded in a big way. I think that has to be the biggest surprise. Yeah, I don't think anything else comes quite close to that as I kind of walk through everything in my mind. I thought that was maybe the biggest pleasant surprise. I mean, LVN was really good. Wyatt was really good. I thought Quay Walker, again, what he did was really impressive. But as far as like real pleasant surprises, either Colby Wooden or, again, even though I kind of saw it on tape and we kind of talked about it ahead of time, what Darian Kinnard did as well coming in, I thought was really promising as well. But I'm going to go Colby Wooden on this one. The wide receiver room when Watson is back, look out. Yeah, if Watson can be, actual Christian Watson when he comes back from injury, just another weapon to add to this offense. Marshawn Lloyd too. It's exciting to think of what this offense could potentially be as they get better and better as the course of the season moves along. Andy, everyone is praising Wooden for putting on his 20 to 30 pounds over the offseason to play nose. I've been putting on 30 pounds every offseason for 4 years. No one has ever impressed. Thoughts? Yeah, it depends on what type of weight you're putting on, Will. If that's pure muscle, man, people need to be complimenting you a little bit more. But no, if it's if it's just those victory pizzas piling up, then it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. But no, kudos to Colby for really making over his body and becoming a more impactful player on that defense. What a huge pleasant surprise that is so far. Green Bay run blocking was not good. The only deficit, in my opinion, again, they'll get better. We talked about that already. Not super concerned about it in the long run. A few words on Jenkins' performance. How significant is that upgrade from Myers? Yeah, again, want to watch, especially line play. It's always one that I want to get the all 22 on and kind of see how the performances go there. But I thought first glance looked good and certainly an upgrade over Josh Myers. And I think Jenkins will only get better. He missed some practice time in training camp. And I think as he plays there more and more and more, the better and better he's going to get. But yes, should be a pretty massive upgrade from what we've seen from Josh Myers these past few seasons for sure. How much do you think yesterday was a sign of how good we are versus how much worse the Lions will be? I tend to believe it's the former, that it's a compliment to Green Bay. I do think Detroit has some deficiencies, but the weird part is like we talked about the two real things that there was some concern on. The two things were, do you have a pass rusher opposite Aiden Hutchinson or any other pass rusher on the team? And if you don't, how are you going to affect the quarterback? Because teams are going to focus in on Hutch. And if you don't have anyone else that can affect you in any real way, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle to get players at the quarterback. And we saw that really significantly yesterday. I mean, Hutchinson's good, but he's coming off of injury and he's getting double teamed and chips and helps a lot. And if Davenport and Tyleek Williams and DJ Reader and those guys and the rest of that front, Al-Qadim Muhammad, et cetera, can't get to the quarterback, it's going to be a long season. I am stunned. I am legitimately stunned that Detroit went into this offseason. One of my predictions right away going into the offseason, I said Detroit's going to be extremely bold in upgrading this roster and getting another pass rusher and, in finding a way to get them over the hump. Because you can see you can see this window kind of closing on Detroit where it's like, hey, if you don't do something now, you might not get anything out of this. You've been really freaking good. You're probably a piece, maybe two pieces away at worst. And like, go for it. Like this should have been a team that was very much involved in Trey Hendrickson and Micah Parsons conversations and things like that. I know they've given out a lot of contracts already, but like figure out something. Like Jadeveon Clowney should be in Detroit right now. He should be in Detroit right now. You got to try something. So I think their lack of pass rush opposite Aiden Hutchinson is something that they should be very concerned about. And I think the interior of their offensive line, Frank Ragnow is gone. Kevin Zeitler is gone. And to me, that is something that you saw. Tate Rowledge did not have a good game in that game as a rookie second-round pick. He struggled. On the opposite side, Christian Mahogany, 6th-round pick from a season ago, he struggled in that game. So those are the questions. Interior offensive line and pass rush opposite Hutchinson, those questions were not answered well by Detroit. Both of those looked very shaky. Outside of that, I think they're still going to be a very good team. I think they'll bounce back in week 2. But I tend to believe this was a little bit more Green Bay oriented, but I do think there's a couple deficiencies that they're very much going to need to address somehow, some way. I was surprised they put Kinnard at right tackle when Tom went down. Do you expect that to stay the same if Tom can't do Thursday? He looked good, in my opinion, in the limited action. I do, but it is a little bit different when you have some time to prepare for it. And it just depends too. Is Aaron Banks able to go? We'll have to see how they kind of mix and match that. But off the top of my head, I would say if Tom can't go, my initial instinct would be that Kinnard will be out there at right tackle. All right, Tulio, what's up, my man? How are we feeling? I'm so hyped for this team. The performance for sure was beyond any positive expectations, but the one aspect of the pack yesterday was the energy. That wins games. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it. You could feel it from the opening moments. Now, there was never a chance that they were going to be able to keep that same intensity from beginning to end, but I thought the energy stayed really impressive throughout the course of the game, and you could really feel it out there. Now, that's week 1, all right? At home, in front of the home crowd, with Micah Parsons' debut against a big-time NFC North opponent in Detroit. It's one thing to get up for that game. Week 3 against, Cleveland, in Cleveland for a noon game that doesn't have the hype and things like that. Are you able to get up for that game? Just as much energy. When you get to week 11, week 13, and your body's starting to wear down a little bit more and the season becomes a little bit more of a grind, are you able to carry that energy into that? Like, those are the things I want to consistently see. But yesterday, no question about it, we saw it in a very significant way. Also thought it was interesting that PFF only had Evan Williams with the elite grade. Would have thought Rashawn would have had a better grade than he got, as well as Cooper. Yeah, I'm excited to go through and grade those guys. We'll see if I agree or disagree. I think it's part of it is week 1. I don't think anyone's perfect. It's really difficult to play at an extremely high level right away, right out of the gate. But I thought a lot of those guys played really, really well. I'm not really concerned about the grade one way or the other. I thought the two things I will note here is I thought the game plan was great, both on offense and on defense. And I thought they executed well as a team. And sometimes when you execute well as a team, it's not any individuals getting a bunch of, big opportunities. It's everyone kind of doing their job. I thought it was a lot of everyone doing exactly what they were supposed to do throughout the game, both on offense and defense. And sometimes it doesn't amount to huge stats or huge PFF grades or things like that, but it amounts to a big time team win. And I will take the big time team win every single time over high PFF grades and big box scores. I'll just put it that way. Was I doing podcasts in 2010? I was not even close. Or will this be your first year podcasting the Super Bowl season? This will be my first year podcasting a Super Bowl winner. It is funny. I joke about this from time to time, but I have one Super Bowl in my youth. 96, I was 12 years old at the time, I think. So I got to experience one in like my youth, which was freaking awesome. In 2010, I got to experience one as a hardcore fan that was not covering the team in any way at that point in time. I don't think I was doing even anything for SconnieSports.com at that time. I'd have to think back. Maybe I was doing just a little bit. I don't think I was, but if so, it was really, really minuscule and minor at that point. And nobody was reading it or knew who the hell I was. But yeah, I just got to do it as a hardcore fan, right? And it would be cool if now there's, at least one more that's out there as I'm covering the team. That would be like the perfect trifecta for me. Obviously not trying to make this about me or whatever, but it would be cool to get one in the youth as a hardcore fan, as an adult, and then covering the team. That would be the perfect triforce of perfection of my Packers fandom. So really hoping to get at least that one more, but I know, that's whatever, but it would be fun to do that for sure. No question about it. Christopher, thank you for the super chat. How about that special teams? No mistakes. Thanks for all you do, Andy. I will not fight back, but I will argue a little bit on that. 2 penalties, the one that started the game, opening kick return, and then there was a nice punt return that was also negated via penalty. Also, there was a penalty on the play, but Matthew Golden did allow a punt to bounce that easily could have hit Bo Melton on that play. You've got to field that punt. You cannot allow that ball to bounce in any way, to have something like that happen. Or if you do, you better make sure you were vocalizing to get Bo the hell out of the way in that situation. That was a little precarious. Again, I think there was a penalty on Detroit on that play anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. But just a couple things there that you can clean up a little bit. But I would say a more than passable performance from the special teams, no question about it. And appreciate the super chat there, Chris. Dustin, thank you as well. Hey, Micah talks all about LVN. Am I crazy to feel like Micah and RG are very different personalities? My only worry is messing with our Rashawn Gary's mentally being a leader for so long, and now Micah coming in and taking over. Go Pack, go though. I don't know, Dustin. Those guys seem fired up together. Rashawn was hyped when Parsons got that sack, and I think I think when you're hearing Micah talk about LVN, Micah doesn't need to hype up Rashawn Gary that way. He already knows what Rashawn Gary is. And he already knows that those two have an ability to be a dynamic duo. I think he, like Goody and many others, see LVN and say, there's no reason that this guy cannot be one of the best defensive players in all of football. Like, he is that talented. I've been the first to say, like, it's been disappointing to see LVN in his first 2 years based on the talent that's there. And I've said verbatim, despite in many other instances, maybe wanting to sell stock on it, I said, I am not selling LVN stock. He is far too talented. And he oozes all of it. And you can see it coming out now in this first game. There's so much freaking talent there. And Micah clearly sees it right away. And so he's just kind of doing his best to put his arm around his shoulder and be like, I'm bringing you with me. And you're going to do everything that I'm doing. And if I can do it, you can do it, because you're just as freaky of an athlete. And I think that's what he sees, is all that untapped potential still with LVN. We got a taste of it yesterday. I thought LVN had a really nice game. But if you do get that to that point where Rashawn is Rashawn, Micah's Micah, and now LVN elevates, imagine LVN takes the trajectory of a Trey Hendrickson. They're very similar. You kind of level up year by year, right? But until you become, one of the most dominant players in football. I think he sees that sort of progression that is there for the taking for LVN. And imagine if all of a sudden you do get that, and Micah and Gary and LVN are just completely wreaking havoc, not to mention Devontae Wyatt, etc. So I just think he sees all that potential and wants to get all of that out of him that he possibly can. I knew what you meant, Chris. You're all good. Can't say I remember a game where the opposing team had 15 dump-off throws and we had 9 guys surrounding them within seconds. It was fun to watch. It's a 3-level game on defense. It's tough to throw deep against these safeties like Xavier and Evan Williams. I thought were all over the place, and it just makes it really hard to throw deep. And you don't want to put the ball in Xavier's direction, which makes that difficult. And then you couldn't run the ball yesterday because the run defense was really good. And now you just are basically limited to short and intermediate passes and checkdowns. And now the linebackers and Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker are over that immediately and stopping you for 3-yard pickups. There's not much left to do. And your receivers aren't getting open consistently against the corners. Well, what do you want to do? You can't run the ball. You can't throw it deep. Can't throw it short. Can't throw it intermediate. Good luck. Good luck. It was a really well-rounded defensive performance from Green Bay yesterday. Romeo Dobbs, that's a comment. He had a nice day yesterday. That was a pity reversal for the Tesla catch, for sure athletic, but he didn't stick it. He needed the left hand to secure it, and at that point, the right heel was off the ground. Should have ended 27-6. I'm going to disagree a little bit with that one, Kelvin. I think there was an angle that showed he got hand on the ball, both feet in. It doesn't matter either way. Cool highlight moment for Tesla in his rookie debut. It doesn't affect anything. Packers still win by as much. I don't think anything's going to get down to score differential for tiebreakers at the end. So I think we're going to be okay. And it, like I said, doesn't really affect anything in the end. So I think it was a catch, but whatever. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Have we seen anything yet from Banks in camp games to justify the contract? How bad is it for the Packers if he ends up being a bust free agent? Again, I'm only through a quarter of it, but I have not seen anything ridiculously bad from Aaron Banks yet. And remember, too, he's been battling an injury, so I think he'll settle in through the course of the season. I graded every snap of his last year. I thought he had a really great start to 2024 until, again, injuries unfortunately hit him in 2024 as well. But I'm not super concerned at the moment. If I get to the end of this one, and you guys will know because I'll talk about him as one of my lowest graded players if that ends up being the case, all right, then we'll have a conversation. But a quarter of the way in, I don't have any concern over Aaron Banks from what I've seen on the All-22 so far. Still on a high, best game I've seen from the guys in a very long time, really trying to zone in on the unsung heroes and moments. One of them was a blitz protection from Jacobs. Yes, Captain Jacobs. I thought that was a really impressive piece. And Chris Brooks coming up with some really big pass pro moments as well. It's so important. I know it's one of those unsung things that we don't always talk about a ton, but it is a huge, huge important aspect of what Green Bay does on offense. And when you get that level of pass pro from Brooks and Jacobs, it goes a long way. It would have been a different game if you didn't have that level of pass pro from your back. So kudos to Jacobs and Chris Brooks for what they were able to do yesterday. I feel really good, Ben, about the game against Washington. I think they're going to win this one. I don't know if I feel good or not good about feeling good about it, but I feel good about it. Washington's got to come into Lambeau, Thursday Night Football, short week, short rest early in the season. And I think Green Bay is going to be ready. I think Green Bay matches up well with Washington, but got to play the game. We're about to find out. And as soon as, again, you think you're on top of the world, somebody's ready to throw you off the top of the mountain. And we'll see if Washington can do that. But, Washington's got a lot of hype too. And Green Bay is going to be gunning for them to try to take them down and show that Green Bay right there with Philly is the best team in the NFC. Should be a really fun matchup, but I feel good about this one for Green Bay. We need to pay Romeo, Quay, and D. Wyatt next year. Well, D. Wyatt's already on the 5th-year option, so that's a little bit less nervy. Quay certainly is trending in that direction. I do not think Romeo is going to get that contract. I just think you're going to have to make some tough decisions, and I think Romeo probably is an odd man out, but we'll see. You never know. A lot of it's going to be dependent upon how Watson and Dobbs play this year and what those contracts end up being for them. And then Reed, Wicks, Golden, Savion Williams, and what you can get from that quad group of wide receivers as well. We'll have to wait and see. But Wyatt's already back with the 5th-year option. Quay, I'm more leaning towards does get that extension from what we've seen. Captain, green dot, high-level play. You usually want to hang on to that, but we'll see. Romeo would be of the three, the one that I think is least likely to be back. Late to the party, did LVN get his first start? He did. Also, wow, what a game, especially on defense. Yes, it was a really impressive defensive performance. And yes, LVN did get his first ever start. What do you expect from tonight's NFC North matchup? No idea, Mirko. I am glued to this one. I don't know what to expect from JJ McCarthy. I don't know what to expect from Caleb Williams in this Ben Johnson offense. It could go in so many different directions. I think this one is a must watch. And the NFL has just been phenomenal all week long so far. I'm expecting a little bit more of a defensive struggle. I think, 210 yards for both of these quarterbacks passing sounds about right. But if you told me either of them tore it up or either of them really struggled or anything in between, I would probably believe you. But there is a huge mystery as to what the NFC North has in these quarterbacks in McCarthy and Caleb Williams. And the trajectory of the division, both in the short term and the long term, can change drastically if either of these quarterbacks are incredible or if either of them are god-awful or both are in between. Who knows, right? But it changes things massively in the North for both now and in the future based on, and we're not going to get the full answer tonight, right? This is just one more piece of the information gathering process, but this is our first piece of information for Caleb Williams with this Chicago team with Ben Johnson at head coach, and our first introduction to JJ McCarthy in his first start ever. We're going to learn a lot about those two tonight, and it's very intriguing to me to see how that ends up. To see them dominate in all phases was a ton of fun, but knowing they left a lot out there is exciting to think about. Love put a few balls in harm's way that he got away with. Matthew Golden first touchdown on Thursday. All right, I'll take that, Brandon. And I'm with you. I actually think that there were some plays, the play to Tucker Kraft early in the game that he overthrew, a play behind Jaden Reed. Obviously the two interceptable, potential passes. I thought there was more out there for this offense. Quay Walker coming up with the interception. I thought there was more out there for the defense. Eliminate those couple holding penalties on special teams. The crazy thing is if you're talking about, if both of these teams just play a little bit better based on what we saw, Green Bay's even better than Detroit than we saw in this one. I think that's the real crazy part. Yeah, LVN had a really nice day. Gotta love overreaction and Victory Mondays like these. Gosh, I miss football. It's great to have it back. Happy Victory Monday, everyone. Feels good. Yes, it does. The way the defense played yesterday and fired to the ball was amazing. The only question I have is what Jordan Love are we going to get in and week out? I love what I seen from Love in the first half. I think Jordan's going to be really good. I think you're going to see more and more of that. Willing to give a little bit of accident forgiveness on a couple of those throws early on. I think he'll settle into the season. I think he's only going to get better and better. I really do. Big game hunter quarterbacks are going to press a bit. I'm here for it. Exactly. Izzy, thank you for the super chat. Hard one for you, Andy. Likely there will be head coach opportunities for Jeff Hafley. Would you rather promote Jeff to head coach and release Matt LaFleur, or happier to say many thanks for the future and good luck? Yeah, you're not letting Matt go in that situation. It's it's a fun hypothetical, but it's a impossible hypothetical. And either way, I would hang on to Matt. Like, I don't think you guys recognize, like, Mike McDaniel was the hottest thing as a new head coach. Like, everyone wants to find their new Mike McDaniel. Dude might be fired before the bye week this week, or sorry, their bye week in Miami. Like, having sustained success in the NFL is insanely freaking hard. Continuing to be able to spread that message of what you want to do as a head coach is incredibly difficult. Matt's done a tremendous job. And even if you got the new next hot shot, head coach, even if that's Jeff Hafley, you have no idea how it's going to translate and how they're going to be as a head coach. I think Jeff's going to be amazing, but no, there are few, if any, I would take over Matt LaFleur at this point. I mean, it is a very, very small list, if that list exists. I think he's a great coach for this particular team. And I'm all in on this version of the team with Matt and Goody. They've built it the right way. It's organic, and I want to see them get to the finish line together. Now, if I'm Green Bay, I am very much considering what options are out there to be creative with Jeff Hafley. All right, let's play this out. There is no salary cap on coaching hires, offensive coordinators, or defensive coordinators. If Jeff Hafley is going to get a 4-year, $30 million deal or something like that, 4-year, $28 million deal to become head coach of the next team, what if you talk to Jeff and say, we'll give you 4 for 30 to stay defensive coordinator and make you assistant head coach, or add a new label that is co-head coach? I don't think you could probably do that. It might just be in title only. That gets a little bit tricky, but can you do something additional? Like, can you add a moniker or a title of, whatever that thing is, where you're basically saying, Matt LaFleur is the head coach and Jeff Hafley is the defensive head coach? Or, like, can you do something a little bit unique? Like, can we think outside of the box where Jeff gets, he already has complete autonomy of the defense. He continues to do that. He's basically head coach of the defense. Matt runs the offense. You give him a different moniker and you give him more money than he would get as a head coach. I don't know if Green Bay is going to be willing to do that, but I'd be open to it. I'd be willing to figure out ways of, like, hey, we'll pay you more and give you a title change. And, like, you don't have all that pressure on you of being a head coach. Like, Matt has to feel all that pressure. You don't. And would you be up for that? Like, I'd at least try to be creative with it. I'll put it that far. The Browns play Baltimore well. Are you saying that they will play Baltimore well? We'll see. I know Baltimore's very heavy favorites in that one. You can't let go of Matt LaFleur. We won't have anyone better available to take over the offense. If anything, just pay Hafley. Hoping he wants the chance to work with this defense and win several Super Bowls. I think he is, just the way that these guys are wired, you want the opportunity to run your own team. Like, of course you do, right? And I wish him all the luck in the world. Hopefully we can win a Super Bowl this year and he can put together the number 1 ranked defense and then go take over another team and have success with, like, I don't know, some team in the AFC, right? That'd be great. And I'd be wishing him all the best of luck in the world. But I think these guys are wired to be competitive in that drive to want to be head coach and run their own program. And if he wants to do that, he certainly deserves the opportunity to do that. Look forward to the Pack playing the only other NFL team that Lombardi was head coach of this week. Yeah, very true. Although there was his grandson that has had coaching experience in the league as well. I predict that Covington may be elevated if Hafley departs. I'm not sure he wants a head coach at this time, but he sure deserves it. I think he probably would. As far as Covington, I think he would be involved in that process, but I think they would look long and hard at different options for who would be available for defensive coordinators and really run everyone through the ringer to make sure that they're getting the right replacement for Jeff Hafley if that would come to fruition. Sounds like the Bears are officially moving forward with a stadium with a retractable roof in Arlington Heights with the goal of hosting the 2031 Super Bowl. Listen, that Super Bowl, that stadium rendering is amazing, and it looks really cool. And their stadium now completely sucks. So, yeah, whatever that means, I think it's probably better for the NFL. The field today that they're playing on against Minnesota looks atrocious. It's embarrassing. It's beyond embarrassing. They need to do something different. So that's one I hope for Chicago that does actually happen, because they need something new there. Non-Packers question: do you think Harbaugh is on the hot seat in Baltimore? Like, I know last night was really bad, but they've had some bad chokes in recent memory. I think if maybe he doesn't win a Super Bowl this year, depending on how the season ends, there could be some conversation on both of like, hey, do we just need to do something different? But I just think it's really tough. It's a really good team that plays the right way. And you probably end up with a worse coach. Like, if we're just being honest, like, Harbaugh's really good. He would have a job the next day with some other team. It's an interesting conversation. It's one of those of just like, if you can't, it's just Marty Schottenheimer, right? You can't ever quite get over the hump. Like, yeah, I don't know. I hope not, because I think he's a really good head coach, but I do think at some point, if you just can't get over that final goal, you just have to go in a different direction at some point. It's a really interesting conversation. Kind of disappointed, as I always thought the best part of Soldier Field was its location on the lake. Yeah, I can understand that. Are they on I don't even know. That might be I've not been to Soldier Field, so I don't know for sure exactly where it's located. But yeah, the new rendering looks really cool. I will say that much. And isn't it on the water too? Maybe I'm wrong about that. I was thinking about the exact same thing earlier today. Should we promote Hafley when he gets the head coaching offers? Those will come in 26, unfortunately. No, again, not going to be able to do that. Nor should you. Not a chance. Matt LaFleur over everyone. You can find good coordinators. Granted, it's not as easy as it is to say, but finding as coach is harder. You can hire a bad coordinator and recover within a year. Yeah, it's not honestly worth this. It's a fun hypothetical, but it's not worth discussing because there's just 0.0% chance. Favorite O-line performance, I will talk to you about once I finish up my grades, and we'll kind of go over that for sure. Honestly, think and hope that Haf will stay beyond next season. I think he will want to see his team win. You could be right, but I don't think so. I think if he gets a head coaching job with the right team, he'll take it. If it's with a crappy franchise that he knows he's not going to be able to win with, then maybe he takes the pass on it like Ben Johnson did for a couple of years. But the hard thing is you just don't know if those opportunities are going to continue to come along. If he passes up a head coaching job next year, and then the following year they have like the 20th ranked defense, goodbye head coaching opportunities. It just makes it really difficult. So I think sometimes you just have to take it when you get that opportunity. Do you think we should expect a bigger game from Matthew Golden on Thursday? No. I thought Matthew Golden was really good in this game. The targets are going to be few and far between for these wide receivers. I hope there's not a lot more targets, because if there's a lot more targets, what does that mean? They're probably losing, or they have to continue to throw to get back in the game or to stay pace with Washington's offense. I would love if Jordan Love continued to have 22 attempts and 16 completions week in and week out, because it usually means that the run, and this game, it didn't mean that the run offense is going well, but usually means the run offense is going well and that you're controlling the game. If you have 16 completions and 22 attempts, and you're going to throw to Dobbs, Reed, Wicks, Kraft, Golden, Jacobs, Musgrave, Brooks, Fitzpatrick, Savion Williams in this game, not even including Christian Watson at some point, there's only going to be so many balls to go around for everyone. We've been talking about this forever. All I need is when you need that play, that receivers are getting open. When they needed a play, Romeo got open. When they needed a play, Wicks got open. When they needed a play, Reed got open. When they needed a play, Golden got open. If each of them end up with 2 to 3 catches every single week, but when you need them, they're there. That's all I need. I know we're so fantasy football mind focused of like, I got to see a guy go 8 for 160 and 2 touchdowns. I like how Golden played in this game. I like the way that the receivers were able to get open and ran the offense the way that it was to be successful. And some of these guys are going to end up with 1, 2, 3 catches almost every single week, because there's just a lot of mouths to feed. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. And all these guys are bought into it. So no, I don't expect big games from almost any wide receivers almost ever. You're going to get some from time to time, including from Matthew Golden. But my expectation is that we're going to see a lot of 3-catch, 43-yard performances from a lot of these receivers all season long. That's my expectation. A bad coach will set you back years. That is for sure. Mike McDaniel's future offensive coordinator for Jeff Hafley when he becomes a head coach. I'm kidding. We need to keep Hafley in Green Bay forever. I thought you meant Mike McDaniel's replacing Jeff Hafley in Green Bay. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, but I see what you mean now. That'd be a heck of a hire, I think, for some team to get Hafley as a head coach and McDaniels as an offensive coordinator. Some team could pull that off. It's a pretty good get. Lived here for 30 years. It's beautiful, but the stadium is an eyesore and sucks in its internal operations. Yeah. Oh, it sucks in its internal operations. I got you, Holmes. Yeah, it's not a well-run anything. Organization, stadium, team, field, all of it has not been great for years now. I've asked before, I'll ask again. Do you think Evan Williams will become a star? He has every right to. He has every right to. He played fantastic on Sunday. Huge interception. And, I don't know what that star level is. I certainly think Pro Bowl is well within his reachable potential. Can he be an all-pro? I'm not saying he can't, but that's a lofty expectation. But whatever he becomes, he's a really freaking good player, and I'm really glad he is a Green Bay Packer. How do you feel like Jenkins did at center? Did it look like an upgrade? Again, I want to go through all 22 when it comes to line stuff. It's just really tough to gauge in real time and when you're going through TV copies. So I'll keep you guys posted on offensive line grades when I get them. But first glance, I thought he held up well. Do Micah and Gary combine for more than the 2019 Smith Bros? I'd have to go back and look at what those stats were. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but I think they can easily be better than the 2019 Smith Bros, or at least more impactful. I think that's within the reachable equation. Although I put that season up there in very high regard. I thought Za'Darius was unbelievable that first year in Green Bay. I mean, unbelievable. One of the best defensive seasons I've ever seen in Green Bay. Quite frankly, I'd put it right up there with pretty much anybody. And I thought Preston was really good that year too. So it's a tough bar, but I think the talent is certainly there for those two. I've returned to Green Bay. My birthplace, Lambeau, is different. Yes, it is. Looking forward to going to Cleveland and Dallas for the road games. So keep my eye on Ward and Newsome, who will probably be available once Cleveland starts 0-6. I don't know if they're going to need a corner, but yeah, you could see Cleveland being sellers at the deadline. That's for sure. First time at Victory Pizza Monday with Luigi's got the Big Daddy. It is so filling, Ryan. I love to hear that. Enjoy every second of it. I do think Micah and Gary have a higher ceiling than the Smith Bros did. Time will tell, though. I think that's probably fair, Ben. What a game, but excited for Matt LaFleur to eventually win a challenge. Thanks for your hard work and dedication. He's not been great at those. I will definitely say that. Areas of opportunity for Matt. Just think Branch is dirty, not rough and tough, but dirty. I said, he's one of those players. If he's on your team, you probably love him. If he's not, you probably hate him. Holmes is a ultra thin crust supreme guy myself. That's a good one, Holmes. That's a very good one. Kraft called Branch a cat and the 5-letter word for a cat. Yeah, Kraft's not afraid to get after it either. At the beginning of the game, they flashed Zach Tom, had started every game for like 37 games. I instantly started screaming at the TV, "What are you doing?" It's like you're going to curse him. Hopefully he's able to go out there. I thought he had a really nice game before getting hurt, at least again, as far as I could tell. But yeah, you need him to be good for the remainder of the season. If he needs to sit out Thursday, you can probably manage it, but he's a very important piece for this team. No question about it. You guys really came through with the questions today. It's funny because, when we have even 300 members or something like that, we're usually able to get through all the questions. Obviously today's a little bit different too. And it's coming off of a big game, but we usually were able to get through of them. Now we've got 700 plus members, almost 800 members. And I'm only at 320 here of people getting questions in, and I've got to get out of here in a few minutes to go pick up my kids from soccer and whatnot. But I appreciate all the questions today. Sorry that I'm no longer able to get through everything. So I guess my lesson for you is, make sure to get those questions in early if you want to get the members only chats now, because you used to be able to get through all of them. Now it's becoming a more daunting task. Yes, there was some belt strapping to Detroit yesterday. Low key hoping the earth opens up and swallows both teams whole in tonight's Bears Vikings game. Not hoping for that, but if both of them struggle, I won't be too disappointed. Did Hutchinson play yesterday? I think the only time I saw him was the replay after his illegal hit on Love. Offensive line and defensive line both dominated. Seems like Goff was getting ghost and getting happy feet. He was a little bit, certainly hurrying up everything at quarterback with Mike out there, certainly. And then, Hutchinson, it's going to be tough when there's not another option and not somebody else that you're worried about. Everyone's going to be focused in on Aiden Hutchinson. Green Bay they took him out of the game, and he really made no impact in that game at all. Will Nate Hobbs be our Brian Branch? I don't know. Maybe. Time will tell. He's got that intensity to him. That's for sure. Thoughts on Savion Williams? Coaches seem to like him despite not doing anything in the preseason. I think he's ultra talented. I think it might take some time for him to really see that potential, but he is a really, really talented player, as talented as any wide receiver on this team, including Watson, including Golden. Just a little bit still needing of refinement, but I'm excited about him big time. I think there is a a massive talent waiting there if you can unearth it, because there are few that have the size, height, weight, speed, everything that he has. He's a freak in all the best possible ways. And I think the sky is the limit for his upside long term. All right. Wyatt and LVN going to go crazy this year. That's the hope. Yeah, LVN had a really nice day yesterday. Yeah, the Guardian, that thing was absurd. That thing was absolutely, like, that thing looked out of a cartoon. Like, somebody had to have been pranking him, right? Like, hey, Savion, here's your Guardian cap. And it just like, it looked like that. I don't know. I don't even know. Looked like, what are those things that like the London Guard uses that just is like the huge, tall cap? Like, it was absurd. It was beyond absurd. Definitely my biggest frustration with the game was the size of Savion Williams' helmet. I don't know what happened there. I don't understand it. It can't happen again. We've got to fix it for the sake of humanity. We've got to make it so that thing is, you can't, there's no way you can be good with a helmet that's as big as 6'4" Savion Williams. The helmet was as tall as Savion Williams. That can't happen. We've got to fix that. It's a crisis at this point, and we can't allow it to happen. Wooden definitely did step up. Colby played out of his skin. Very impressed. I played bits of Xenogears. I did not play it in its entirety. My friend was really big into it. I played Final Fantasy, and I played Suikoden in a couple games like that. I played just little bits of it. My friend was, like I said, big into it. So I watched him play more than I actually played, but it seemed like a cool game at the time. I think Tucker Craft had some Brian Branch in him too. I know Brian Branch hates playing him. They were after each other. It was a fun little battle. All right. I think we have a couple super chats maybe left here that I'm going to get to, and then I do have to get out of here. My apologies again for not getting to everyone's chats today. Barry to Hafley, thank you, football gods. That's an upgrade to say the least. That, I think, was the final one. Yeah, I think I got to every super chat there. All right, cool. All right, guys, appreciate you a ton. Thank you so much for being here again. Sorry I couldn't get to everything. We'll try to obviously get to everything that I can on happy hour this week. So make sure to get to that. That'll be Friday, I think, at 3 p.m. this week. We'll have a live show with Mike Wall as well coming up on Wednesday. It's usually going to be on Mondays. We had to do a little bit of changing up. So usually I'm going to do live with Mike Wall during the day. And then we're going to record our episode right after that for Tuesdays. And then Justice will be on Thursdays. But Mike was in Green Bay for the alumni thing yesterday, so he was not able to go today. So Justice will be tomorrow. We did the members Q&A today, and then we'll do Mike live on Wednesday. And then Mike and I will have our episode on Thursday as well. Lots of really fun stuff coming up. Keep an eye on all of it. I will see you guys all very, very soon. Thank you again for being members. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.